at least 3 things happen when we seek solitude. A lot of things can happen, but I'm going to look at 3 today. 3 things happen when we seek solitude. The first, when we seek solitude, we slow down to hear God. We slow down to hear God. Church, there are voices in this world constantly trying to speak to you every day. There is distractions constantly competing for the limited space in your hearts. Whatever that looks like for you. Maybe it's your job, maybe it's because of your phone, or maybe it's because of any activity. You know what that looks like. As things of this world get louder, with all of the noises in this world, church, we risk drowning out the only voice we need to hear the most. That's the voice of God. Number 2, when we seek solitude, we remember who we are in Jesus. You know, the more we don't withdraw, the louder and louder the other voices get. You see, in all transparency, church, this is not an area of strength for me. And the more I have trouble with seeking solitude, the more and more I begin to hear voices, and maybe you can relate, voices that say things like, you're not worthy of love, you're not enough, you'll never be accepted, you're not valuable, you're only as valuable as you are productive. They'll say things like, you know your flaws, you know your sins, you know your past. God can't use someone like that. Can anyone relate? But as we seek solitude, Christ reminds us of who we are in him, and in him he says, you are loved, you are more than enough, you are valued. He reminds us that no one else has the right to define us except the one who created us. But the more often we forget to withdraw and seek that kind of solitude, sometimes the easier those things become to forget. These 3 things happen. We slow down to hear God. We remember who we are in Jesus. Number 3, we open ourselves up to the work of the Spirit. I have a question. Does anyone feel like you are not experiencing the abundant life that Jesus talked about? Like, does anyone feel like even though you're a Christian, this life to the full that Jesus talks about, you're just not experiencing that? Church, could it be the reason we're not experiencing that is not because God is absent, but because we are distracted? Solitude was designed for you and God to grow more intimate together so that he can work through you, so that he can reveal and do things in your life that will help you live life to the fullest. But often what's lacking is never God's presence, but often our awareness of it. All right, you follow? What's lacking is never God's presence. God is always present. But what's often lacking is our awareness of his presence. And it's typically, for most of us, because we're distracted. It's about being intentional, about seeking solitude. Intimacy requires intentionality. Zach Zender is an author and a pastor. He states in one of his books, distractions inevitably increase unless you take action to limit them. God gives us some incredible opportunities, but we can be so distracted that we miss the opportunities right in front of us. If we're not careful, every distraction will become a lost opportunity.